What's going on, everybody? Frank from 5AM Ramen here, and I am in KYUSHU City, Fukuoka Prefecture. This is Fukuoka's second largest city after Fukuoka City. And as such, you know they're gonna have great ramen. I'm introducing the best that KYUSHU City has to offer. Of course, we're in Tonkotsu Ramen country. That can only mean tonkotsu or pork bone ramen all the way. Let's see how they ramen roll up here in the north. Hello everyone, and welcome back to 5AM Ramen, your ticket on the Ramen Express train in Japan. I'm your conductor, Frank, and on these trips, I pretty much just eat ramen and drink water. Maybe a donut once in a while. This is the 4th episode in what is a Kyushu mini-series. The island of Kyushu in southern Japan loves its pork bone ramen. And naturally, the same could be said about Fukuoka Prefecture in Kyushu, including northern Fukuoka Prefecture, where I am now. More specifically, I'm in KYUSHU City, a lesser known and maybe even best described as a forgotten city. I always wanted to visit KYUSHU and cross it off the ramen list. I just arrived in the evening, and let's hear more from me on the ground. So I just got to KYUSHU City, checked into my hotel, and this evening I'm probably just gonna have one bowl to start with. So tomorrow it's gonna be a bit of a runaround to see how many I can squeeze in before most of them close as early as 1:30, 2:30 p.m. around that time frame. I'm sure I could smash 3 tomorrow. But this evening, let's start with Gyorantei, which is actually, according to many websites, the top of KYUSHU in terms of ramen. I'm gonna go walk there now, about a 20-minute walk from my hotel. All right, so I got about a half-hour walk here, a nice scenic walk along this highway. Not to start off with the stereotypes of KYUSHU, but let's just say that in Tokyo and perhaps the rest of the country, KYUSHU has this image of being a little bit rougher around the edges. It's a big industrial city, one where there was actually quite a bit of pollution. They, of course, cleaned it up. It was actually a great case study of how to clean up a city after so much pollution. In addition to that, the city is known for having a lot of Yankee. These are basically Japanese youth delinquents, I guess you could translate it as. I haven't spotted any yet. When I was a kid in the 90s, you would see them all over the place, even in Tokyo, but not the case now. Anyways, there's some random information for you that isn't ramen related. I will say, the city does feel different from Fukuoka. Nice little river here, but it does have an industrial feel overall, and I think things feel more spread out. You definitely need a car out here, whereas in Fukuoka, you don't really need a car. Anyways, enough city comparisons. I will be showing everyone that ramen shop in a second. And we have arrived. Gyorantei uses only pork trotters for its soup, one that's been boiled for over 10 hours. So I'm expecting a pretty hefty porked out soup. Let's see if that's actually the case. Okay, making my way back after Gyorantei. Here's a recap on the bowl. First of all, staff were very nice. Not that I would expect anything less, but that does make for more of a memorable experience. So there are a couple choices to order. You can basically order their 100% pork bone ramen, or their doro ramen, I believe they call it, or some ramen where they also blend in chicken bones. I think they have a 80 and 20 and also a 90 and 10 blend. But I went for that pure pork bone goodness. Since I was just in Kurume, that's freshest in my mind. Now, kurume style pork bone ramen, it can be stinky, it can be very concentrated in terms of a porky, rich flavor. Definitely a heavier hitting pork bone ramen. This one wasn't as heavy as what you get in kurume. The broth was a little bit foamy at the top, like a tonkotsu cappuccino. There's a place in Fukuoka that's known for this, Hakata Isso, but compared to Isso, this wasn't as porky. This wasn't as tonkotsu-y. It had more of a gentle flavor too, like they've strained the broth a whole lot. And there was a certain sweetness to it. It was surprisingly sweeter than I thought. And it may sound a little strange, but I almost felt like it was pork bone and peanut butter. That sounds gross. I'm not saying it was gross at all. It was very tasty, but it was on the sweeter side. If you like peanut butter, this place is for you. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks it tastes like peanut butter. Maybe everyone else is like, what are you talking about? I ordered the noodles firm or katamen and your typical trimmings for pork
pork bone ramen were there. You had kikurage as well as negi. I added an egg, and you had nice, more modern, fatty chashu pork. And this is different from some of the more classic shops in Kurume, for example, where the pork is going to be more dry. Overall, great bowl. My only disappointment is that I'm not able to eat another bowl this evening. I did arrive in KYUSHU a little bit later in the evening, and because of that, I was basically arriving at Gyorantei right before they were closing. All this means is that I'm gonna have to work extra hard tomorrow, eating at KYUSHU's finest ramen shops. Happy I started at this one though. And my God, it's endless. I was just going through my map and I was like, okay, are there any places that might be open in the evening? I just keep adding to the map. I was like, oh, even if I can't go this evening to this place, I probably should visit at one point. I add that place, I bookmark it. I did this for about 3 places. Just content-wise, it's endless. I could easily come here another day and yeah, introduce another 4 ramen shops. It's ridiculous. I was walking on the road here back to the hotel and I found this little nook and cranny here. And it's a great place to talk to all of you about the ramen, but I was like, I pretty much said everything I wanted to say. But tomorrow, yeah, I expect a busy day ahead of me. I found a place that might open at 8 a.m. actually. So I'm aiming for 3 to 4 bowls here in KYUSHU City, and I have to get back to Fukuoka by 6 p.m. for yakitori, a proper day's work. So last thing I'll say about the city, I said it's industrial, but it's very clean. It's a very clean city. And even though it maybe doesn't have the sort of charm that you have in Fukuoka with those more dense visited areas, but it's still a very nice city. It's just maybe not one of those places where most tourists would come. However, there are some things I'm going to be showing you tomorrow that might be worth coming for if you're already in Fukuoka. I haven't been to these places, so I think alongside the 3 to 4 bowls, I'm going to try and squeeze that in. Let's see how that works out.
In the next video, we're continuing our little ramen journey in KYUSHU City, as I'm annoyed that I could only have 1 bowl tonight. I promise we'll be making up for this tomorrow and with some local sightseeing as well. See you in the next video.